customer experience is fundamentally just about how you make people feel. So it's a very emotive thing. That's all that really matters, is how you make people feel and how you make your customers feel. It just so happens that now we've got this digital layer that sits on top of products and services that 20 years ago were far more face-to-face. But ultimately, the impact of that digital service is still an emotion at the end of it. And if you ask anyone to tell you about a great customer experience they've had recently, they'll probably talk about a person. They'll probably talk about a person that has made that experience great. Or if you talk about a complaint or something that's gone wrong, they'll probably talk about something, the absence of a person that helped them put that right. So where it does make it more complicated is that organisations and brands need to understand the intersection between those two, and not just think if they create a nice pretty UI, or UX screen with nice options and brightly coloured buttons, that's all of a sudden going to make the customer feel fantastic. If the fundamental underlying understanding of human emotion and what people really want isn't there, then the screens can be as pretty as they want, but it won't make for a good experience at the end of the day. I think the big thing that's always been missing for a lot of brands is that they've separated out customer experience over here and what they're actually trying to achieve commercially over here is two different businesses, sometimes two different teams. And the companies that have been really successful commercially have done it by bringing together what they're trying to achieve commercially and what's really important to customers. So this kind of top-down and bottom-up approach. And I think that's how brands need to start organising. They need to start looking at the customer decisions that are going to have the biggest impact on achieving their commercial ambition, because ultimately it's a customer's decision to buy from you that helps achieve your commercial ambition. And then start to manage their customer journeys in that way. So not just mapping customer journeys and creating pretty pictures, but actually actively managing those journeys and building a cycle that allows continuous improvement, understanding the most important journeys, how you analyse those, how you create new journeys or better journeys or improve those parts of journeys, and then monitoring on an ongoing basis that allows that to happen continuously, not a nice one-off project. Well, I think it's always been important to business success, so I'm not sure it's going to be any more integral in 2018 than it has been in the past, but I think what's different is people's awareness of it being more integral now. So particularly, things like customer loyalty, people have always talked about it, but really customer loyalty is just a myth, and it's actually about customer usefulness and being really useful for customers. And what's changed is now it's more easy than ever, if a company is not being useful to you as a customer, just to get up and leave and move with a click of a button. So that's the real change we're seeing. The customers don't really have this loyalty that never really existed. What they do have is a desire to go and find services that are more useful to them. And now it's far easier to discover those services, whether it's online or through friends and family, and far easier to switch to those services. So the product that's being sold now is customer experience rather than a particular product in itself. And companies have to realise that, because that's the big change that's happening. I think it's really interesting. I think traditionally, again, there's been a sense that perhaps the agency partners look at the start of the customer journey, so we're looking very much at the awareness and the consideration parts of the journey. But of course now that whole journey impacts a customer's perception of the brand. As they have their experience, they start to share their experience more. As they're sharing their experience, they're starting to influence other people, not just their own decisions for the future, but their friends and family's decisions as well. So I think those agencies that are able to actually start looking across the whole journey and not just help with the awareness and consideration phase, but also help design and create the experience that's going to deliver on that promise through really immersing with what's important to customers, are probably going to be the agencies that people are going to want to work with and use, because they're able to do the whole package and not just a part of it and then disappear and fingers crossed and hope that the promise gets delivered by someone on the front line further down the line. I think the question about product or service is quite interesting, because I'm not sure that many companies that just do products do customer experience that well. I think they focus on the strength of the product and hope that works. You've got quite obvious examples that tend to be trotted out, people like Patagonia, who are seen to give a good experience because of their ethics, and of course they do give a great experience because of that. For me, I'd look at someone like Riverford, for example, who are one of the big vegetable box producers, and I've used them personally for a number of years. And the reason they're good is two reasons, actually. Firstly, they get the basics right, so they deliver what they say they're going to deliver on time, the food's always fresh, the delivery man's always really friendly, if there's any problems they sort them out quickly. But secondly, they're constantly looking for feedback and asking for feedback in a very non-obtrusive way, asking to help co-create the experience. So as an example, they recently asked how important it would be to be able to swap things in and out of the box to get the right kind of package. And they gave 3 different options. A week later they came back, they shared the results of the survey with everyone that had taken part in the survey. They then started doing some of the changes and asked how the changes were, so you really feel like you're co-creating the product as you go through, rather than just a company that says we're very good and we're going to be doing these nice things in the background, but you never really know whether it's happening. So yeah, I go for Riverford because they do give a great experience around their product, but you very much feel like you're helping to create the product and the experience rather than it being done to you.